talked about variables earlier in the course, and declaring variables, we talked about different data types. Whole numbers such as integer, or floating point values such as single or double or decimal. We had a bool data type that held true false, or a char data type that contained one character. Each of those are called primitive data types. They are of a specific size in memory. So when I have a statement such as int weight equals 194, in memory it's creating a location to hold an integer value, and we're giving it a reference name of weight that would refer to the value. If I were to change that value, in this case weight equals 189, what would happen in memory is this value would change. It's still the same location in memory, and when I reference that value of weight to retrieve it, it's going to retrieve whatever's in that box, so to speak. Strings, though, can be of different lengths, and we can change the lengths. And so rather than creating a box, what happens behind the scenes is it creates a reference to a location in memory. And in some languages, such as C, we refer to these as pointers. So when I say string xyz equals south, it's actually referencing a location in memory where it puts that data using 5 characters with a terminator, so actually probably 6 bytes, and xyz then points to that location. If I were to create another variable, let's say another string variable of abc equals xyz, what happens here is it creates a pointer to that location of xyz. It does not create another variable of the same value. Now, here comes the tricky part. If I were to concatenate to xyz, so xyz plus equals mountain. Now the value is South Mountain, but it doesn't change necessarily this location. What happens is it basically wipes out that location as far as the reference, creates a new reference to a new value of South Mountain that might be someplace totally different in RAM. And that is called a reference data type. A string is a class. A string variable is a reference to a string class instance. And I bring all this up because since these are immutable values, when we concatenate a whole bunch of stuff, it can take up a little more time and space. It's got to reference more areas of memory. There is another class that we can use to do the same thing called a string builder. We can create an instance of the string builder class, and if you're concatenating, say, maybe 3 or 4 or more items, string builder can be a little bit faster than working with strings. So I've created in Visual Studio an application called String Builder Demo. I just create a button called BTN Demo, text is String Builder Demo. Let's take a look at the code for this. So when we click the button, we have a handler for BTN Demo _click. And String Builder, as I mentioned, is a class. It is part of the system.text namespace. So in order to use String Builder, your project has to have using system.text. Now that's usually a default built in when we create a Windows Form app. So since I have that directive of using that namespace, I can create a String Builder object. So we create the object the same way we create a variable. I'm referencing String Builder. I'm giving it a name of SB. I could have called it anything I wanted. Could have called it Harvey. Equals new String Builder. And then I'm passing it what I want it to contain in that string. I want it to contain the literal string South Mountain Community College. And that goes out in memory and creates that String Builder instance with that value. But as I said, these values in String Builder are mutable. They can change, unlike a string class instance. So there are some methods we can use to work with the String Builder. One of those is the append method. And I can say sb.append, and I can add to that string the phrase is in Phoenix. Or I can remove a value. So here I can remove, starting at location 1, and remove 31 characters. So the first number here is the index number where I want to start. The next is the 31 characters. And if we were to look at this, and I'll demonstrate this in a minute, it actually starting with the O of South and getting rid of South Mountain Community College. So now basically our phrase is S is in Phoenix, or is in Phoenix. Then I can insert at location 1. That's going to be basically the space after S, and I can put MCC, and now that phrase is going to be SMCC is in Phoenix. So I can insert those 3 characters at that location. The append line, in this case I'm going to append a comma space Arizona. When we're appending, it simply is adding to the string right after the current string. When I say append line, it's going to add to the string and give me a carriage return. So in this case, the sb.append line is now going to say SMCC is in Phoenix, comma Arizona, and a carriage return. And then the next line is going to, my next statement is SB append line, and so on the next line I'm going to go Cougars. And then finally use the message box to display the value. So let's watch what happens when we run this. So I click my StringBuilder demo, and the result is I get this message box of SMCC is in Phoenix, Arizona. On the next line, go Cougars. So let's take a look at that a little more in depth of the steps that it goes through in creating this. So I create an Excel spreadsheet, and here's my first line, StringBuilder SB equals new StringBuilder South Mountain Community College. In memory, that is what I'm getting. I'm getting a location in memory that is taking up 31 characters of South Mountain Community College. The next line, where I'm appending is in Phoenix, changes that value, so it now reflects South Mountain Community College is in Phoenix. And this is a mutable string in that I can change the string without changing the location in memory. Then I say remove 1, 31. So what happens here is it's going to look for the location, the character in location 1. Remember, we start counting with 0. So the O of South is character 1. And it's going to go for 31 characters. So South Mountain Community College without the S, and it's going to remove those. And the result is this. S space is in Phoenix. My next line, I'm inserting. And I'm inserting the characters MCC at location 1. And so the result is this. SMCC is in Phoenix. And then I'm appending a line of comma space Arizona. It's going to append it to the original string as part of that first line. And so the result here is SMCC is in Phoenix, Arizona. But the next line we have go Cougars is actually going to put that item onto a new line. So now I have 2 lines with a carriage return in between. SMCC is in Phoenix, Arizona, and go Cougars. And I suppose I have a period here that I didn't put in my code, but so that period wouldn't actually be in memory, or I should have put the period in my code. But then the last statement is messagebox.show. I'm going to convert SB to a string. SB is not a string. SB is a string builder instance. So all objects can be converted to strings. So if I take SB and convert it to string, now SMCC is in Phoenix, Arizona, go Cougars is treated as a string. I can use that as my prompt, and then I put a title of StringBuilder demo, and here then is the message box that comes up. So that's how you can use string builders in addition to strings. Again, these are useful if you're going to concatenate a whole lot of stuff, especially if you're doing that in something like a loop where it's being repeated over and over again. That can save some processing time. You're processing maybe a lot of data that is being concatenated strings, or you're inserting and removing items from strings. I probably tend to use string variables far more than I use string builder instances, but the choice is kind of up to you.